You know what I'm saying? So I mixed all of it. So every story I referred to something that happened for real. And so I don't really know. Once I start reading, then I'll remember the incident, and then I could probably tell y'all. Like one of the stories is based on Black China and her mom, because you know me and Black China was cool when she first started dancing, and she always talked about her mom. And so I made a story based on them. It's a story in here about me and Dime Piece, and something that we went through. And what else? Another story, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, and all the names were changed. Clearly. I don't want nobody to be like, oh, bitch, you would talk about me, pussy asshole. Bitch, you did it. No, I'm kidding. But, yeah, so. This chapter is called Caitlyn. Okay? My book is called The Bottom Line. It's an anthology based on 10 different women from 10 different walks of life that end up in the strip club. Some make it out the game, some get swallowed up. You feel me? And the reason I wrote this book was because when I was dancing, you know, when I first started, dancing wasn't like glamorized. It was like we had to sneak and do it. Motherfuckers ain't want their kids to know. Motherfuckers ain't want their parents to know. It wasn't no cameras. It wasn't no social media. Bitches was nurses during the day. Strippers at night. You know what I'm saying? And I just started seeing like younger and younger girls get into the club. Hi, Bella Rose Recovery. Girls get into the club and they was just dumb as fuck. And motherfuckers just coming in at 17 with their breasts done and butts done and no brain. And I just feel like I don't glamorize dancing. You know what I'm saying? I got into it because I had to do what I had to do. You know what I'm saying? My family, we ain't have it at then. We was going through hard times. My nigga was going through hard times. You know, I'm 16 years old trying to figure this shit out and landed in the strip club. You know? And I wouldn't want my niece or my daughter or anybody else's daughter coming around me talking about, oh, I'm a stripper, I'm gonna go get this money. No. I don't glamorize it. I don't think it's cute. And I also think that, you know, this game is for the strong. It ain't for everybody. People might think, you know, girls get in because they see all these girls with their BBLs and they nice cars and they rapper boyfriends and they diamonds and shit like that, and they want to do it. But motherfuckers don't know that you gotta have that brain, that mentality to make it through, because crazy shit can happen. You feel me? Some bitches ended up get pimped out because they so damn slow. Or they mama, you know, they mama wasn't around to teach them better. There wasn't nobody around, you know, for them to know better. Some girls, you know, they get on drugs because they have to turn into a whole different person to be able to tolerate these men. You got fat, nasty Mexican. You got to grind on his dick. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers, some people get in because they really don't have no other choice. People really want to do better in life, pay for school and shit like that. And you're not a promiscuous person. Really not a person that likes to get naked and show everything. You know what I'm saying? But you got to do what you got to do to get to where you going. You feel me? So then you got to take these drugs and become your alter ego and, you know, whatever. So I wrote the book with intentions of giving people the game, young girls the game, the new generation the game, and letting them know, like, shit ain't sweet. You feel me? Really, motherfuckers that made it out this shit, women who got to the next level, or women who can do it and still, you know, complete their goals, we really got to give flowers to those women. Not just the women who got BBLs and cars and shit. Because, bitch, let me tell y'all, I done made over $1 million dancing, okay? But when I tell y'all, I was broke as fuck. I was broke as fuck. Okay? Right now, I have to do 3 and 4 different hustles to be able to make the same money that I was making dancing. But I'm so much richer. I have so much more money saved. A nigga got good credit. You feel me? Like, really, I don't even got to use my money. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I wrote this book, you know, to get a game out to the new generation girls that think this shit is sweet, okay? Anywho, This chapter is called Caitlyn. All the chapters is stripper names, okay? I think Caitlyn might have been her real name. Okay. My life has never been perfect until now. People see me with my high-profile relationship, beautiful child, endless amounts of money and success, and don't realize the price I paid in order to get this perfect life. Even now, as I look over my life, I can't forget the imperfect moments that led me to the seemingly perfect life. I was raised in Memphis by my teenage mother, Tanya. From stories I was told by my mom's best friend, Christy, my mom and dad met in high school and immediately clicked. My mom, a star cheerleader, had chocolate-colored skin and long hair. My dad was a fashionable white boy with blue eyes and a penchant for black girls. My mom found out she was pregnant a few days after her 17th birthday, and I was born 6 months later. Although I don't know my dad and have only seen pictures of him, Christy always told me that I inherited his smile and facial features. My mom was left to raise me alone when my father bailed because of his fear of the responsibility of raising a child. To say my mom was beautiful would be a disgrace. She reminded me of Gabrielle Union with a mixture of Beyonce. She had the type of body that silhouettes were made of, the face that could have been on the front of any magazine, and the personality to sell sand at a beach. My mom was the coolest person I knew. Because my mom's parents had died from AIDS when she first entered middle school, we didn't have the support of much family in order to make it. Some of my earliest memories include my mom and Christy. To me, they were all I knew as a family. After I was born, my mom, Christy, and I moved into a 3-bedroom apartment in the rough part of Memphis. I can't remember my mom working a regular job, but Christy always told me that she'd work a few call centers at a gas station and even as a housekeeper at a local hotel before she started dancing. All I knew was my mother as a dancer. To me, that was normal. As far as I could count, my mom had been dancing for well over 10 years. Christy, I'll be back. I'm headed to work. My mom yelled over her shoulder as she zipped up her work bag and kissed me lightly on the cheek. Sometimes I wondered if my mom even cared about me, especially since she spent more time at the strip club than she did with me at home. Still, I didn't have much to complain about because Christy had always been there for me. I looked at how beautiful my mom was with her perfectly styled hair, her makeup glamorously applied, and her stylish attire adorning her body, and I smiled. In a lot of ways, I looked up to my mom, but I definitely wish there were things she could change, like her drinking and her drug use. So in my book, each chapter, I go back into how the woman was raised and what she's seen as a child growing up. Because a lot of people make their choices based on what they've been through or what they've seen. And dancers from, when I was dancing, dancers like had this stigma like, ooh, you a stripper, why you stripping? Like, you a hoe, you this, you that. But people don't know that us women go through shit too. Why a nigga could go sell drugs because he ain't had no mommy, no daddy, and he had to get it how he lived and he's praised. But us dancers, we was looked up, we was hoes, we was sluts. Why you doing that? Like, motherfuckers, we all go through shit, and we all have to make choices to try to get to the next level in life. This book is called The Bottom Line. The link is in my bio. You can get the ebook copy, you can get the paperbook copy, or you can get a signed paperbook. All them choices. All right, back to the story. Okay. I always looked up to my mom, but I definitely wish there were things she would change, like her drinking and drug use. I wasn't sure when it began, but as I started high school, I began to see just how much my mother's appearance and attitude was changing because of the alcohol and drugs. Mom, are you coming back tonight? I asked offhandedly. My mom had been known to leave me with Christy for upwards of 2 nights at a time. I don't know, Caitlyn, why? I didn't have a reason for asking other than I wanted her to hang out with me. So I shrugged my shoulders and put my attention back on the television in front of me. I'd overheard Christy on the phone one night talking to a mutual friend of her and my mother and finally realized the severity of what she was doing to herself. I shut my eyes tightly and pretended to be asleep. She drinks all night, every night, Christy said as she took a deep breath. And then she started using drugs. I don't know what all she done used, and it's getting real bad. I hated thinking of my mom as anything other than perfect, so I forced myself to sleep and prepared for the next day in school. Having just started high school, I was realizing just how much I looked like my mom. Even though I had grown up hearing just how beautiful I was, I could finally see it myself. My body was morphing seemingly overnight, and my face was transforming from a chubby adolescent to a thin adult-like face. Going to school was fun because the older guys always made sure to let me know that they liked what they saw. Oh, shit. Here you go. Caitlyn, you so damn beautiful, one guy named Alonzo said as he walked me to class one day. I didn't like Alonzo, but I liked the fact that, like my mom, I could demand the attention of every man in my radar. Oh, shit. Here you go. Thank you, I said sweetly. Being kind wasn't an act for me. It was who I was. Thanks in part to Christy. While I had inherited the gorgeously shaped body from my mom, I had picked up the great personality traits from Christy. Let me take you out, Alonzo pled as he laid against the wooden door leading to my social studies class. Maybe, I said as I smiled widely and shrugged my shoulders before walking into the class, leaving Alonzo with a grin on his face. I know it probably sounds conceited, but I was the it girl in school. All the younger girls flocked to be my friend because of how stylish and pretty I was, while all the boys watched as I sauntered up and down the hallways. I knew what I was doing. It was all in a harmless fun. Even though I had all the guys in school interested in me, I couldn't stop thinking about one guy, Kurt Williams. Now, Kurt Williams was what high school crushes and first boyfriends were made of. He played quarterback for the football team and stood about 5'9", had dark chocolate-colored skin, deep dimples, and straight teeth, which accompanied his beautiful smile. I thought Kurt had to have been the most beautiful boy I had ever seen in life. He had a certain coolness about him that made every girl in the school, from the youngest to the oldest, want him. Without fail, I had caught his eye, and it seemed like we were destined to be together. I see Lonzo trying to push up on you, Kurt said as he leaned over from his chair in class and passed me a note. I tried to hide my smile, but it was cute to see him somewhat jealous of the attention that the other boys were giving me. Maybe this would make him speed up on asking me to go with him, I thought. Hey, Kurt, I smiled as I took the note and rolled my eyes. Kurt and I had started passing long love notes to one another for a few weeks, and they had become the highlight of my day. I couldn't wait to get to social studies so I could see what Kurt had written me and to pass him all the thoughts I had about him during the day. We weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, but everyone in the school knew we was talking. Since Kurt had started to show his interest, I began paying even more attention to my looks, how I dressed, and my makeup. High school was a new territory for me, so I had started experimenting with different looks. After school, Kurt and I walked to the stop sign up the street from my house. So you think you want to hang out this weekend? Maybe? Kurt asked nervously. I don't know. Maybe, Kurt. Well, let me know. I had a couple of parties going on, and I'm really not trying to go with anyone but you. I felt my heart skip a beat as I hugged Kurt and made my way to the house. So this a young girl. She in high school now. Her mama never home. Ain't paying her no attention. Even though Christy home. But she want the attention of her mom. So now Kurt giving her the attention that she want. I knew Christy would say no about me going to the parties with Kurt, so I asked my mom. Mom, I want to go to the party this weekend with some friends. Is that cool? I knew she would say yes. What I didn't count on was Christy overhearing me. What friends? Damn, I thought. Kurt? Christy looked at me like I had spit in her face and asked me to leave the room while she talked to my mom. I did as I was told, but sat by the door listening. Tanya, that little girl's growing up fast. Have you seen how she's dressing, the makeup she's wearing, and the way she's been acting? You need to start paying more attention to her, girl. Now she wants to go to a party with a boy? She's too young. I knew my mom didn't want to hear what Christy was saying, primarily because she didn't want to be bothered as she got ready for work. So I hoped she would override the common sense Christy was speaking and side with me. Caitlyn, you're not going anywhere. This house needs to be cleaned, and I know you got some damn homework to do. Sit your ass down, my mom said as she made her way to the front door. I plopped on the love seat and pouted and plotted. That's when I decided I was gonna go to that party with Kurt. I was gonna go with Kurt to whatever party he wanted to go to. I didn't care what my mom or Christy said. Is y'all feeling the story so far? Yes or no? Y'all feeling the story? Okay. Let me get back to it. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, love it. Okay. Okay, I plopped on the love seat and pouted and plotted. That's when I decided I was going to go with Kurt to whatever party he wanted to go to. I didn't care what my mama Christy said. That weekend, I ran away. I put as many clothes as I could in one bag and I just left. The plan was for me to go to school that Friday and then just never come back home. Looking back, it seems foolish, but it made perfect sense then. My best friend, Olivia, was 2 years older than me and had a mother who worked overnights. Because of this, I had the freedom of crashing at her house until the morning time. Olivia was wild too, and had a boyfriend who she had frequent and loud sex with. Since I was a runaway and crashing in her mom's house, I just had to learn how to close my ears and deal with it. I never did make it to that party that Kurt talked about. Instead, I spent 5 days going from Olivia's house to a couple of other girlfriends' houses. Running away was nothing glamorous, and after a while, I just wanted to be in my own bed. Olivia told me that Christy had called frantically looking for me just about every day. She said, "I know you know where Olivia is." Olivia joked as she sat on the floor while I did her hair. Doing her hair had started to become something that I loved. There was nothing like starting with a mess and ending with glamorously styled hair. "And what did you say?" I replied, wondering if my mom had called. "I told her if I saw you around, I'd tell you to go home." She laughed loudly. I finished Olivia's hair, and she stood up and looked at it. "Damn, Kay, one day you're going to have to open your own hair salon and because you make bread." I waved her off and got ready for bed. I had a lot to think about. The next day, I went home after school and saw Christy in the living room watching television. I sat my bag down by the door and sat next to her quietly. I knew I had been wrong, but I guess I wanted her to be the one to say it. "Caitlyn," she said calmly as she set the remote down, "where the hell have you been?" I looked at the ground and shrugged my shoulders. I didn't want to tell her I had been with Olivia and kids older than me because she would lose her mind. "Let me tell you something. You had me worried sick. Your mother was worried too. I knew Christy had thrown that last party, but I kept listening." "I mean, what have you been doing? Who have you been with?" she asked as she looked me over. Christy was an expert in reading me and being able to tell when I was lying or hiding something. "I've been with my friends," I said shortly. "Boys? Some?" Christy took a deep breath and thought about what she was going to want to say next. My back itching. I saw the pain in her face as she tried to figure out if she was really about to ask her 14-year-old goddaughter if she had lost her virginity after running away. "Did you, Caitlyn? Did you?" "No, Christy, gosh." Christy rubbed her temples and handed me the cordless phone. "Call your mother," she said as she shook her head at me. I wondered where my mother was, but I knew better than to ask. In my dreams, when I returned home from running away, my mother was at home, worried sick and thrilled when she saw me. When my mom answered the phone, I knew that I was the last thing on her mind. "Ma, it's me," I said with an eye roll. I could tell by the slurred speech that she was hungover. Caitlyn? "Where the fuck you been, bitch?" my mom yelled loudly. "Where are you, Ma?" I asked, disregarding her question. My mother's tone changed dramatically as a hush fell over her voice. I pictured her in some strange bed with her hand cupped around her mouth as she whispered to me, "I'm with my boyfriend, Caitlyn, at his house. I'll be back tomorrow." "Okay," I said. I had to admit that while I've been wrong to run away, I was sad that my mom hadn't even been affected by my absence. After I hung up with my mom, I picked up my bag and headed to my room. I just wanted to lie down in my own bed. I didn't want to think about running away or Christy being mad at me or the fact that my mother clearly couldn't care less about me. I just wanted to rest. "Oh, Caitlyn, you on punishment for 4 weeks. No phone, no television, no parties, nothing. You come straight home from school and back. You got it?" Christy said with authority. "Fine, whatever," I said after taking a deep breath. "I missed you," Christy finally said as I turned the corner and headed to my room. I acted like I didn't hear her and slammed my door. At least someone had missed me. How y'all liking it so far? Is y'all liking it so far? We reading my book, The Bottom Line. I need to do like a book club and just start to read different books every Saturday. Old school Saturdays with books at Tip's house. Because on Saturdays, I like to listen to old school music. You feel me? But we can throw in a little book reading in that bitch. Starting with mine. Period. Alright. At least someone had missed me. You going to that party this weekend at Chris' house? Kurt asked me as he leaned against the locker next to me. It had been 5 weeks since I had been placed on punishment. And I knew, without a doubt, I was going out to celebrate. I hadn't seen many of my friends since I got in trouble, so I was thrilled when Kurt threw the invitation my way. Yeah, I'll probably swing through, I replied, trying to downplay my excitement. To me, Kurt epitomized cool. He dressed fly, he hung out with all the football players, and he even had his own car, a black Honda Civic with rims. To top it all off, Kurt lived with his sister, who often had to work overnight. From my standpoint, Kurt was the closest thing to a grown man I had ever seen in high school. Cool, let me know. I want you to go with me if you do go, he said as he raised one of his eyebrows seductively. Okay, I said with a smile. Sounds like a date. When the weekend rolled around, I made sure to tell Christy I was going to a party. By this time, my mom and Christy seemed to be at odds about how much I turned to Christy over my own mother for approval. Still, even with my mom making a big fuss about it, she never once attempted to change her behaviors or habits. Kurt's teammate, Chris, lived a few blocks from my house, so I told Kurt I would just meet him there. I walked up to the brown and blue house, which had cars parked on the lawn and up and down the street. I knew I was going to have a blast that night. I had curled my long hair so it bounced whenever I walked. I had put on enough makeup to turn heads, but not enough to look like I was trying too hard. I wore a black mini skirt, a fitted white shirt, and a pair of cute heels. I made my way into the crowded smoky house and immediately spotted Kurt talking to Samantha Brewster, a senior who had knowingly thrown herself at Kurt over and over. I played it cool and walked around and spoke to a few people and then headed towards where the drinks were. I wasn't going to show that I was jealous of Kurt talking to Samantha, so I just made sure to keep my eyes off of them. I looked at the drink table and saw the numerous bottles of dark and white liquor lined up on the table, along with the sodas and juices. As wild as Christy and my mom probably thought I was, I had never had a sip of alcohol, so I was clueless about what to drink and how to drink. Child, a lot of people, a lot of girls, and a lot of stuff that go on in high school, like kids, so I was able to throw this part in because I went to a predominantly white school and all their parents were rich and all their parents always worked a lot. So they always had a lot of parties. Like white people don't really watch their kids as closely as black people parents do. So while they was gone, their kids were throwing hella parties with hella drugs and hella liquor. So, when I was a teenager, I was going to parties that had hella drugs, hella liquor. I didn't drink until I turned 21 though. However, it was definitely available. Okay. I had never had a sip of alcohol, so I was clueless about what to drink and how to drink it. You look like a vodka kind of girl, I heard Kurt say as he wrapped his arm around my small waist and pulled me into him. Hey, I said, looking at him grinning. I saw you was busy, so I just came to fix myself a drink. Kurt chuckled as he caught a whiff of my jealousy. Samantha's just an old friend, Caitlyn. Trust me, that's all. He said as he poured 2 shots of vodka and handed one to me. Besides, if I wanted her, I could have her, Kurt nonchalantly whispered. But I asked you here because I want you. I had never felt so admired than when Kurt stared at me when he spoke those words. Yes, we had flirted in school and been writing each other letters for weeks, but to hear him say it was thrilling. Take your shot, Kurt said as he tossed his back and looked over at me. I did as I was told and then slammed my shot glass down. The taste of the liquor hitting the back of my throat made me want to throw up. I couldn't figure out how my mom drank this kind of stuff day in and day out. After a couple more shots and a couple more words, Kurt and I headed to the dance floor just as Trick Daddy's song played. I made sure to grind my ass deep into Kurt's crotch area as he gripped my waist. I knew that all of the school was watching, but I didn't care. I even caught Samantha staring and giggling because I had what she wanted. The alcohol was consuming every bit of common sense I usually had. I turned around to face Kurt, and that's when he stuck his tongue down my throat and began kissing me like they do in those romance videos. I could feel myself getting wetter by the second. I had never kissed a boy like that, and I loved how it was making me feel. Oh, Lord. This is a high school girl, y'all. Come on, let's go talk, Kurt said as he whispered in my ear. I didn't want to talk. I wanted to keep feeling his wonderful lips on mine. We sat outside on a picnic bench in Chris's backyard and made small talk. He asked me about my living situation and what I like to do on the weekends, and I asked him what he was planning on doing after high school. I know it was silly, but in that second, I was picturing me and Kurt getting married and living happily ever after. You know you're pretty, right? Like, you the prettiest girl I ever seen in my life. I like you, Caitlyn. I felt my heart beating so fast I almost couldn't think straight. I like you too. Come here, I want to show you something, Kurt said as he grabbed my hand and led me to the shed in the backyard. As soon as we walked in, the stench overwhelmed me. It was also very filthy in there. I could see that Chris's family probably used this to house their lawn and mowing equipment and tools. It's so dirty in here, Kurt, I said. Shh, he cooed as he placed his finger on my lips and looked me deep in my eyes. In that moment, I didn't care how dirty or smelly it was. I only cared that I was with Kurt. We began kissing. Before I knew it, Kurt's hands was all over my firm breast. I wanted to touch every inch of his body too, so I did. Before I knew it, Kurt was moaning and groaning and removing my shirt. After my shirt and bra hit the ground, Kurt stared at my breasts and then began sucking on them eagerly. I couldn't deny that I loved the feeling. Just as easily as my shirt and bra had come off, my skirt slipped down to my ankles and I felt Kurt pushing my panties to the side. When he stuck one of his thick fingers inside of me, I gasped. This must have been what Olivia was referring to when she talked about getting fingered. I had never felt this kind of feeling before. My body was reacting by producing more and more wetness between my legs. Kurt was getting excited by the wetness and tightness between my legs, and I saw him pull his own basketball shorts down to his ankles. Soon, Kurt was rubbing his dark penis next to my vagina. His fingers stayed in me as he slid himself back and forth across my wet vagina. I didn't know what I was ready for, but I was ready for something. Kurt, sensing that the time was now, stuck his big penis inside of me. I yelped really loudly, and Kurt put his hand over my mouth to silence the cries. I didn't know if Kurt knew I was a virgin or not, but he kept humping me with great force, overwhelming my body. I closed my eyes tightly and waited until it got to a bearable point where I could enjoy it. It seemed like eternity before Kurt began humping and moaning louder and faster, and before long he had come. I wasn't sure how to feel, honestly. We both laid there catching our breath for a while. Oh shit, this girl done lost her virginity in a goddamn dirty ass shed in the back of another nigga house. Gone was the small talk, and gone was the look of admiration that Kurt had in his eyes minutes earlier. Kurt rolled over and began putting on his boxers and shorts and raised an eyebrow while looking at me as I stood up. You got black dust on your back. You might want to get that off before you go back in the party, he said. Something in his tone had changed, and I immediately felt played. I tried my best to wipe off all the black dust off my back, change, and then walked outside to see Kurt had already went back in the party. When I walked back in, I saw he was talking to Samantha again. The look on Samantha's face told me she knew I had just gotten fucked in the shed and left alone. I felt dirty. Kurt, I'm ready to go home. Can you walk me? I whispered in his ear. Kurt looked like I had asked him to loan me $1 million. His face turned up as he draped his arm around Samantha. I ain't ready to go, so you need to walk yourself home. Samantha laughed as Kurt chuckled when I turned to walk out. That night, my walk home was the longest one I'd ever had. I thought about how Kurt had played me and how I'd fallen right into his trap. I never imagined losing my virginity in the back of a shed to find out Kurt wasn't the person who he led on to be. I found myself crying on the walk home and hoped that Chrissy was asleep when I got in. I didn't need to explain to her why I was crying or why I looked a mess. I just wanted to be left alone. See, see, this is why I raised my son to be a gentleman. You know what I'm saying? Because boys like that, like, we got to raise these boys to do better, be kings, you know, be mindful of people's emotions and things like that. Because that one cool. And although her little fast ass should have made better decisions, still. And then also knowing where she's coming from. Her mom ain't paying her no attention. She want the attention of her mom. She can't get it. You know what I'm saying? And even though Christy trying to instill a little knowledge into her and stuff, she wants it from her mom and she can't get it. Her hot ass should have stayed in the party. Her hot ass should have stayed at home, not at the party, DJE. Okay. When I just wanted to be left alone. On Monday in school, Kurt walked past me as if I didn't even exist. It hurt, but I tried not to focus on him or what happened. I just wanted to make it through the school day. When I got home, my mom was there, but Christy wasn't. Hey, Mom, I said as I tossed my backpack on the couch. Where's Christy? Caitlyn, this is my new boyfriend, Mike. He's gonna be living with us for now. Hey, I said shortly, noticing that my mom had ignored my question. Where's Christy? My mom rolled her eyes and took a deep breath. Christy isn't living here no more. She doesn't like Mike, and this is not her house. I felt like someone had taken away the little bit of love and concern that anyone had for me. After everything that Christy had done for my mom, I couldn't believe my mom was letting a man come in between them. I went straight to my bedroom and cried myself to sleep. Now, she done came home and her mom done kicked Christy out. And she got a whole nigga living in the house. No asking, no talking. She ain't know this nigga, where this nigga came from, nothing. Over the next few months, I grew used to having Mike around. I didn't like him too much, but I got used to him. I would notice how aggressive he would speak to my mother and the fact that she would get mysterious bruises all over her body. Although he never hit her in front of me, I knew the truth. My mom never brought it up to me, so I never asked questions. I had learned how to keep a safe distance from my mom and her drama. Since my mom was still working at nights, I didn't have time to miss what I never knew. Mike and I would usually end up being like ships in the night. I'd come home from school, do some homework, eat dinner, and then go to bed. We barely interacted, and we never really bonded. One night, while my mom was at work, I had just finished doing my homework when I decided it was time for bed. I pulled the covers up to my neck and proceeded to shut my eyes. A few minutes later, I felt my covers being pulled back and rough hands all over my body. At first, I thought I was dreaming. It wasn't until I opened my eyes and saw Mike at the foot of my bed. That's when I knew it was no dream. For what?
Chips.
Go ahead. Mike is up to no good. Mike, stop! Get the hell out of here! I screamed as I tried to kick him away. By this time, Mike's hands were in my vagina and I had tears forming in my eyes. This could not really be happening. Mike pulled out his penis and pulled up my nightgown and quickly shoved himself inside of me. I fought like hell, but I couldn't match his strength. He lay on top of me, humping and pumping like a pig while I cried and beat on his back for him to stop. After a while, though, my energy was low and I had to just lie there and take what was coming. I cried like a baby as he raped me. When Mike finished, he just got up as if nothing had happened and left the room. I heard the shower in my mom's bedroom turn on and continued sobbing. A few minutes later, I heard the front door open and close. Mike was gone. I almost slipped. All right. So, are y'all listening? All right. So where we at? A few minutes later, I heard the front door open and close. Mike was gone. When my mom returned the next morning, I immediately told her what had happened. Great, she started as she stood up from the kitchen table with anger. So you ran the man of my life away. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had told my mother that her boyfriend had raped me and all she was concerned about was the fact that he was gone. That was my breaking point. I stared at my mother with so much disgust and hate that it scared me. How could this woman care so little about me when I'm the one she birthed? I grabbed all of my things and I left the house with no place to go. I didn't know what I was going to do or where I was going to go, but I had to get out of the house. Thankfully, Olivia let me stay at her house, but I had to hide all of my things in her backyard. I knew this arrangement wouldn't work for long, so I had to think quickly. I continued going to school and applied for a job at Burger King. When I saved up enough money to get a cheap motel room, I did just that. The motel owners tried to hassle me about my age, but I told them all about my rape and my situation and they cut me some slack. I had been gone from my mom's house for a month and was literally living paycheck to paycheck. I only had enough money to pay for the room, not food or living necessities. Something had to change. One day at work, a girl came in and I knew automatically she was a dancer. Where you work? I asked curiously. Platinum Plus. She said, eyeing me up and down. You should come down sometime. Aw, shit. Here come this goddamn Ronnie ass bitch. Want to tell this little girl who trying to work. You know what I'm saying? Even though the little girl need a little extra help than Burger King, but still, here go Ronnie. Where you work? I asked curiously. Platinum Plus. She said, eyeing me up and down. You should come down sometime. That sounds just like Ronnie, don't it? That's when it hit me. I could be a dancer. My mom was a dancer, and I had the looks, body, and attitude that was perfect for it. The next day, I went down to Platinum Plus and filled out an application, and I was hired on the spot. Some of the other girls in the club turned their noses up at me, but I didn't care. I was focused on getting myself out of that tiny motel room and getting money in my pockets. After I was hired, I sat in the club and watched how some of the girls moved and what they wore. I knew that if I wanted to make a lot of money, I needed to stand out. I spent the last of my money on an outfit and a pair of shoes for my first night dancing. Everything had to be perfect if I was going to make money. So we heard her backstory. And we see how she got into dancing, okay? So every story that I have in the book, you hear the girl's backstory first and see where her mentality is at or what situation she's in that brings her to dancing. Because nobody just says, oh, I want to be a stripper. Well, back in the days, now it's possible girls are saying, I want to be a stripper. Like bitches at 15, I want to be a stripper. But back then, that wasn't it. Like a lot of times girls fell on hard times or had unfortunate situations. Everything had to be perfect if I was going to make money. As soon as I hit the floor, a cute brown-skinned guy was asking me for a dance. I wasn't as great of a dancer as some of the other girls, but I knew with practice, I'd have it down. As long as I kept it sexy and seductive, I could easily beat out all the other girls. Once I got on stage, I had one guy throw $101 bills my way, and I could have cried. As I shook my ass to the beat and looked over my shoulder to give them the sexy face, another guy ran towards the stage and made it rain with $500. All in all, from the floor and the stage, I made $900 in one night. That was more money than I ever had in my possession in life. I felt like crying from joy. From the situation with Kurt to being raped by Mike and basically abandoned by my mom and living in a motel, I finally started to think things might turn around for me. And they definitely did. So now you see the unfortunate situation that she was in, and she didn't have no money. Now she start dancing, and this is for every dancer. That first feeling of getting money, like money you ain't never seen before, bitch, you be like, oh, I can get used to this. But everything comes with a price. As with many dancers, I quickly realized that drinking made dancing seem like a lot more fun. Even though I hadn't had a drink on my first night, I began drinking every night after that. I was becoming one of the most popular dancers at Platinum Plus, and the celebrities and ballers were all requesting me for dances. It seemed like overnight I became a local celebrity. I was hosting parties and making club appearances. I wasn't sure how it had happened, but I wasn't mad at the fun or the money. I had saved up enough money to buy a 2-bedroom condo in the downtown area and had recently started dating a well-known football player named Jelani Dawson. Jelani was 6 feet, had beautiful chestnut-colored skin, and was the nicest guy I had ever met. Because of what had happened with Kurt and Mike, I was skeptical of men. Jelani made it easy to trust. Because of his image, we had to keep our relationship a secret, which I was fine with. I knew Jelani had other women and I had other men that kept me busy when I couldn't be with him. It was something about the chemistry that Jelani and I had that made every other encounter with every other man irrelevant. Our vibe was something I couldn't seem to put my finger on. We would talk and FaceTime all the time, and even when we couldn't be with each other every day, we always stayed connected like we had just started talking. Jelani flew me out to see him one day, and I lay in the bed after sex and stared at him. I don't even want your sexy ass to leave, he said as he moved a piece of my hair from my face. I didn't want to leave either, but I knew both of us had lives outside of each other that we had to focus on. While we were lying in the bed, I got a phone call from my mother. Caitlyn, my mom yelled, you little ugly bitch. Mom, are you drunk? I asked as Jelani shook his head and rolled over. He had heard more than enough about my mom. You think you could beat me by dancing? You're not going to amount to shit. Nothing. You hear me? I hung up on my mom and took a deep breath. I had heard through the grapevine that my mom started doing coke and drinking more heavily. Even though I pop mollies every now and then socially, I knew I would never get to the point that my mother was at. I prayed that she got help and decided it was best to keep my distance for a while. Your mom's a trip, Caitlyn, Jelani said as he stood up from the bed and made his way to the bathroom. I know, I said as I trailed him. I just don't ever want to get like that. Yeah, we both dance, but I want to do something with my life, you know? Jelani was applying toothpaste to his toothbrush when he looked over at me and grinned. Well, do something then. I had seen so many girls in the club get caught up in the money, fame, limelight, drinking, and drugs that I didn't want that to be my story too. I had a heart-to-heart talk with myself and realized that I was headed the direction I realized that where I was headed, the direction, and I needed to make a change. Even with all the attention and money, I'd never set any goals for myself. Now, as I sat up in bed with Jelani flipping through ESPN, I made a goal to open my own hair salon. For me, doing hair was second nature, and I knew I couldn't fail at that. Is y'all liking the story so far? Shout out to everybody showing me love. Shout out to Seattle. Everybody saying they love me. I love y'all too. We are currently reading my book, a chapter from my book, The Bottom Line. This chapter is called Caitlyn. Are y'all liking the book? Are y'all liking the book? Need popcorn. Hope you come back to Tampa. Y'all need popcorn. My book is really good, and I'm not just saying that because I wrote it. Need popcorn. So y'all make sure y'all purchase my book. The link is in my bio. You could get the ebook. You could get the paperback copy, or you could get a signed paperback copy. All right? All right. For me, doing hair was second nature, and I knew I couldn't fail at that. Oh. 1 second, y'all. All right. All right. Okay. Okay. For me, doing hair was second nature, and I knew I couldn't fail at that. Well, babe, you need to work towards that goal, Jelani said as I finished reading it all off to him. I was proud of myself and kissed Jelani deeply. As he pulled away, he looked me in my eyes and smiled again before kissing me. I want you to move in with me. I didn't even think about it. I knew I would have to relocate, give up a lot, and change my entire life, but I didn't care. Within a month, I had moved all of my belongings into Jelani's spacious mansion. Being that Jelani brought out the best in me and allowed me to experience things I had never experienced before. I had been to nice restaurants, but never this nice. I had driven nice cars, but never this nice. Jelani made me step my game up in a good way. When he blessed me with an Aston Martin, I thought I died and got in heaven. This was the life I dreamed of having. And here I was in school for cosmetology, preparing to open my own hair salon. About a month before I finished, I found out Jelani and I were expecting our first child. I wasn't sure how he was going to react, but I knew he'd have my back. So what do you do? He asked with a wide grin on his face. You're happy? I asked curiously. Caitlyn, you my girl. Of course I'm happy, he said as he lifted me up and kissed me and then my belly. I felt like I was dreaming. Because of our popularity, my pregnancy was mentioned on all the top urban blogs and websites. I made sure I stayed healthy and took care of myself during the pregnancy. Jelani was so excited to be a father, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't stressing about life or money or my mother. When our daughter Aston was born, life just seemed to click into place. By day, we played the happy family and did everything for our little girl. By night, we kept our fire for each other burning by having 3 sons and wild sex. I hate when people say they have the perfect relationship, but my relationship with Jelani was the closest thing to perfection I've ever experienced. One day while I was feeding Aston, I got a call on my cell phone from my mother. I had done a great job of avoiding her for months, but this time I took the call. Caitlyn, I'm clean, my mom said in the clearest tone I'd ever heard. I went to rehab and got clean, baby. I wanted to believe my mom, but the past kept reminding me of why I shouldn't. Mom, I'm going to have a plane ticket waiting on you to fly out and see me tomorrow. I want to talk to you face to face, I said. I booked her flight and prayed that Jelani would be okay with things. I needed this conversation with my mother more than I needed air. When I saw my mom at the airport, I could tell how the years had affected her. Gone was the vibrant beauty that she once had. Gone was the vibrant beauty that had once made me proud. Now my mother just looked old and run down. Hey, Mom, I said through tears. Caitlyn? My mom screamed in disbelief as she ran towards me. It had been years since I'd seen her, and I still couldn't get over the fact that I loved my mom more than I could ever explain. Regardless of what had happened and how I'd been hurt, she was still my mom. When my mom looked down and saw Aston, she couldn't stop commenting at how beautiful she was. She looks just like you when you was a baby, my mom said as we headed to my house. When we got to the house, I gave Aston to her nanny and sat with my mother at the kitchen table. Mom, you hurt me, I said as I tried to fight back the tears. Mike raped me and you blamed it on me. How could you do that to your own daughter? All I ever wanted was your love, I cried. My mom wiped her eyes and tried to open her mouth and talk. Caitlyn, I was sick then and I wasn't in my right mind. I'm sorry, baby. I really am. I just want to make sure that I'm in you and Ashton's life now. I know I can't take back what happened then and how I hurt you, but I can try to make the future look better, she said as she grabbed my hand and caressed it. We both cried in the kitchen and vowed that we would work on our relationship. I wasn't stupid. I knew we wouldn't have the perfect relationship, but I was willing to work to get it back on track. Hold on. My bad, guys. I said Ma. I don't know what the fuck. I'm reading about this girl, mama. All right. Caitlyn, I was sick then and I wasn't in my right mind. I'm sorry, baby. I really am. I just wanted to make sure that I'm in you and Ashton's life now. I know I can't take back what happened then and how I hurt you, but I could try to make the future look better. She said as she grabbed my hand and caressed it. We both cried in the kitchen about that we were working our relationship. I wasn't stupid. I knew we wouldn't have the perfect relationship, but I was willing to work to get it back on track. For the next 2 days, my mom and I enjoyed our time together as we caught up, went shopping, and did mother-daughter things. When she went home, I was a little sad. However, I knew we were in a much better place than we'd ever been. When my mom returned home, it only took 2 days for her to start calling and begging me for money. She had commented several times how well Jelani and I were doing, so I figured she wanted to take advantage of that. I sent her money and then found out she was still dancing and back to drinking. I had to make one last ditch effort to save my mother and our relationship. Baby, trust me on this, I said as I kissed Jelani and Aston on the cheek as I headed towards my terminal. I need to do this. When I landed in Memphis, I checked into the hotel and then went straight to the club that I knew my mother was working at. As I entered the rundown club, I saw my mother passed out drunk at the bar. I shook my head and tapped her. When she saw it was me, she got aggressive and tried to fight me. Bitch, you think you me? You think you fancy because you got that big old house and shit? I'll kick your ass, my mom screamed. I motioned for the bouncer to get her and put her in the waiting taxi cab. Mom passed out in the hotel room as soon as we got there, and I just watched her in amazement. The irony that I was now taking care of my mother the way she would never take care of me as a child blew my mind. Still, I love my mom, and I just wanted for once for her to love me enough to leave the drinking and drugs alone. Caitlyn, my mom said as she stood over me as I slept in the bed next to her. I could tell she was sober by the way she said my name. Hey, Mom. I'm sorry, my mom said. I'm just really, really sorry. I'm tired of being sorry, too. I just want to be a mother you could be proud of. I sat up in the bed and wiped my eyes. Ma, from the moment I can remember, I've looked up to you. Even when you were doing wrong, even when you weren't there for me, and even when I felt all alone, I looked up to you. Even now, Mom, after I've been raped, abandoned, called every name in the book, and taken advantage of, I still love you. I'm still fighting for you. But, Mom, I can't keep fighting for you if you're not willing to at least fight for me. I got a daughter now, Ma, and I can't and I won't allow her to continue this cycle. I want to be there for her. I want to see her through every moment of gladness and happiness. And I want you to be there, too. But I can't have you in her life if you're going to continue with this shit. I won't. So you have a decision to make. Are you going to choose life or death? I choose life, baby. My mom sobbed as I wrapped my arms around her and cried too. I won't do everything for you. I need you to want to change. I want to do everything for you, but I need you to want to change. And I want you to move in with us. But you got to find your own job and pull your own weight. I said when we finally stopped crying. I was nervous that if I didn't help my mom financially, she would go right back to dancing and drugs. But when my mom promised me she would do right, I breathed a sigh of relief. As we boarded the plane headed to our new life, I looked out of the window and wondered if I'd gone through everything I'd gone through just to be able to save my mom. I was thankful that Aston would never know the lifestyle that both my mom and I had fallen so deeply in. I grabbed my mom's hand as the plane took off and smiled. This was the end of a vicious cycle where we constantly made bad decisions, all because, to us, in that lifestyle, money was the bottom line. That was raw. That was raw. That's the end of that chapter. That was a chapter called Caitlyn from my book, The Bottom Line. Did y'all like that? That ending was so raw. I can't even believe I wrote that. You feel me? That was all. I think maybe every Saturday I need to do an hour book club and we just pick a book and we just read. But it got to be good books. I'm a reader. I read a lot. So, yes, if y'all haven't purchased my book, that was a chapter from my book called The Bottom Line. You can click the link in my bio. You can get the ebook version, the paperback copy, the signed paperback copy. That book, yes, every chapter is a different girl. So it's an anthology based on 10 different girls from 10 different walks of life. Every chapter is, yes, a different girl. Buying now. I really liked it. Thank you guys. I really, really appreciate it. I'm gonna do like a whole new book release, because really I just be promoting this book on Instagram, but I didn't really like do like a whole marketing and promo and all that stuff. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm also in the process of writing part 2. So make sure y'all get part 1, because part 2 is fire too. Do you think it's a good idea to get my 17-year-old? You really can't. Kids is gonna do what they want to do, especially a young girl that's determined to be like someone that she looks up to, which is basically nowadays gonna be someone on social media who 9 times out of 10 is or was a dancer, because every popping girl at some point has danced. I think the only 2 that haven't is Jada and Ari, and I don't know their backgrounds if they tried it or whatever, but every other popping girl pretty much has started to dance. So younger girls now, it's like, damn, that's the route to go. I gotta dance. So now girls is 16, 17, I gotta get me a BBL, I gotta get this makeup artist, I gotta have a lace wig, I got, you know what I'm saying? So they're gonna dance, because they, especially young girls, they got it in their brain what they want, what and who they want to be like. So I feel like my advice for a young girl, you can't stop them. So you can't be like, oh no, don't do it, you're forbidden from doing it, and I'm gonna fuck you up if you do it or whatever. I think the best way to do it, and I wish that my mom was around, because when I started dancing, my mom was in a situation, which is one of the reasons I started dancing, to where she wasn't around. So, but I wish I had someone there to tell me, like, there's a possibility you can make a lot of money, and if you do the right thing, you have to go into it with a goal. Like, you can't go into it, like, when I got in the game, I was making so much money. I started partying. I wanted to get all the designer stuff. I bought an expensive ass car. I bought an expensive ass car. I bought all type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Because I was catching up for everything I never had. And so all my money went to waste. Like, if I made $10,000 one night, I was going the next day to spend like $9,500 on clothes, or just stuff that I didn't need. So I feel like if you can't deter a young girl's brain, you know what I'm saying? You can't tell them, don't do it, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna fuck you up or whatever, because if it's in their brain, they're gonna do it anyway. So you really have to just tell them, like, look, and this is what I wish I had. Go into this with a goal. Like, buy a house. You know how much money I made, how many houses I could have bought if I had, the right mentality or the right people around me. And I don't regret anything I've been through or the choices that I made, and I don't be like, I hate my mom, like, oh, you didn't teach me this or whatever, because I had to go through everything I had to go through to be the person that I am. However, I do sometimes wish that sometime somebody would have told me the right thing to do with all this money that I'm making. So I feel like my advice to someone, if you're having a young girl, which there's many young girls nowadays who look up to dancing and stripping in the fast life, just let them know, have a goal. Like, set a goal. I want to buy a house. I want to get into real estate. I want to start a business. You know what I'm saying? And you reach your goal, and you take your money and you invest your money, because the goal is not to be a stripper forever. You know what I'm saying? The goal is to really always boss up. Like, I literally was making like 10 grand a night at least 3 times a week. You feel me? For a long time, for about 3-4 years, maybe more. So if you do the math, you know, I was being able to go to KOD on a Monday night and make 10 grand on a stage set, on a 10-minute stage set. You feel me? And I feel like, you know, and I don't want to say that I wish, but if I had to tell someone, if I had to give myself advice and had to do it all over again, I would tell a young girl, make sure you have a goal, you know what I'm saying, and just get in, get out. The game, the point is to elevate, and the point is to take care of your family. Like, I was taking care of my mom, I was paying all her bills, you know what I'm saying, but what is that? Really, if I was focused and I had a goal, you know what I'm saying, I could be a millionaire right now. I wouldn't have to have all these damn hustles that I have. And not that I regret any of them, because I'm blessed to still be able, just off of my name and just off of the simple fact that I decided to dance, I'm blessed enough that I could still, like, I don't stress about no money. I could still make money because of dancing. You know what I'm saying? So, shout out to dancing or whatever, but it ain't something that you want to be doing for the rest of your life. Like, I be looking at it, and I be like, man. And I know if I was to do a one night only, by the grace of God, I haven't had to touch a pole in close to 4 years. That's a long motherfucking time. And I'm around, and I'm watching these girls make hella money. And I know that if I stepped on stage for one night, how much money I can make. I know. But it's like, when I was making all that money, I was broke as fuck. Yes, I was making, you know, at least 30 grand a month. Yes, but I was broke. Like, a bitch was spending, I had no investments. I had, like, nothing. Like, I would go buy, I always had a new car. I always had an up-to-date car. That was my thing, cars. So, but I didn't have no credit. So I'm getting these cars, putting, hold on. Oh, damn, I forgot the goddamn cheese. Goddamn, I forgot the cheese. I gotta go to Publix. But yeah, I always had a nice car, but I ain't had no credit. You know what I'm saying? So I would go to the dealership and be like, here's 25, 30,000 cash, thinking I'm stunting, you know. And then have a fucking $1,500 car payment because my credit was so bad, and I'm fucking paying this shit. And then some, you know, because I didn't have money management. But listen to this. I'm making 30 grand a month. When it came time, like, after, sometimes I just had bad money management that I wouldn't pay the, you know, $1,500. I'd be like, man, fuck, I ain't paying $1,500. Then my car get repoed, right? Then my car get repoed 2 days later. It wasn't nothing for me to get another 20 grand. Get another 20 grand. Go to the dealership. Get a whole nother car. Now I'm stunting. Looking at everybody like, yeah, bitch. I ain't in that motherfucking Charger no more, bitch. I'm in the motherfucking Hummer hoe. You know what I'm saying? Thinking I'm stunting and stuff. So, although I was making all that motherfucking money, a bitch was broke. Okay? Just mentally, just, you know, I had, outside of always having a nice car, I always had a nice place to stay. My rent was always about 3 grand, 3,500. I think I'm stunting because I'm staying in a big ass 4-bedroom house that ain't mine, paying someone else's mortgage. You know what I'm saying? Staying in a raw ass condo, thinking I'm stunting. And bitch, if I knew what I know now, and I'm making the money that I make then, I would be like so raw right now. But you know, you live and you learn. And I feel like I went through everything. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of experiences. I don't regret nothing. I just wish I knew better. And now that I know better, I'm doing better. So even though I don't make, or I do make the same amount of money, but I gotta work like 10 times as hard and I gotta have all type of different hustles going on, I'm a whole lot more richer. You know what I'm saying? My credit is good. A bitch around here got gas cards. I ain't never like a gas card, bitch. What? That is major for me. You know what I'm saying? For me, for what I've been through, the stuff, the knowledge that I lacked, you know, bitch, a bitch got credit cards. My surgery, bitch, I ain't have to pay for my surgery because I had credit. I was like, bitch, I should have been doing this a long time ago. You feel me? A long time ago. But whatever, like I said, I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot of shit, and niggas just, my brain is on a whole nother level now. So it's just, it's up. You feel me? Y'all make sure y'all go get my book, The Bottom Line. The link is in my bio. You can get the ebook version, the paperback version, or signed paperback version. And y'all need to hurry up and get number 1 because part 2 is coming out real soon. You feel me? Yeah. Does anybody have any more questions? Because I'm about to get off this live because I'm so mad that I forgot to get the goddamn cheese. Now I gotta go back to Publix and get the cheese. Like, look. When are you writing part 2? Because it's been a while. I am in the process of writing part 2. You know why I never, I didn't start writing part 2 because I feel like I didn't put part 1 out there the right way. Like, I didn't get a whole marketing team. I haven't promoted it right. So I finally got my mind together, my goals in order, and I came up with a plan. I'm going to re-release this, The Bottom Line part 1. I'm going to do it the right way. And so this way, now you'll see my book everywhere. And then part 2 won't be long after. I'm in the process of writing part 2 to What's Good. I need to holler at you. So look, I'll go get the cheese while you cook. I'll buy your book when it's the next community meeting. I think I should do this like every Saturday. Every Saturday, I should make a flyer, pick a time, and just promote it. And then y'all just meet me on live. And we're not always like, obviously we started reading my book, so my book will be the first book, but we're gonna read other black authors and entrepreneurs books and stuff. Birdman Hands, you know what, Moody is in the building. Yeah, so every week I think that, but we started reading my book, so for the next couple weeks we're gonna be reading chapters out of my book, and then we'll get other people's books. So maybe I'll start looking for other books to read. And we'll just promote different, you know. I want it to be books like, I want books from people who have, you know, like people who've been to prison or strippers or drug addicts. You know what I'm saying? I want to read books from people who reformed their life, because that's what my book is. You know what I'm saying? I'm a dancer. A motherfucker ain't, all eyes was against me. Motherfuckers didn't even expect me to have, for my son to be going to college. Like, motherfuckers don't be expecting us to be shit, do shit. You know what I'm saying? So and then people who made it out, like I know a lot of dancers who's really doing their thing outside of the ones that are on the reality shows and that are influencers. But it's women that I know that have boutiques, that own houses, that got businesses, and they came from dancing. And when I tell you that shit is hard, and you really gotta salute a bitch that come from a crazy background like that, you really do. So yeah, real stories from real individuals. That's what we gonna be reading. All right, so I'm gonna come up with a flyer, I'm gonna come up with a time, I'm gonna come up with a date, I'm gonna promote it. Y'all like it, y'all repost it, y'all tag people, and we just gonna do this every week. Cooking and reading with it. Period. Oh yeah, Duchess. So yeah, we could do Duchess book next. I'm gonna make a list, because it's a couple dancers and a couple people books who I'm interested in reading. I'm gonna make a list of books that we gonna read. But yes, Duchess is gonna be first. Duchess got a book. I think London got a book. And I didn't read Duchess' book, but I read London's book. London's book was good. I'll reread it with you guys. Shout out to y'all. Thank you for tuning into my live. Thank you for listening to my book. Y'all make sure y'all go get my book, the bottom line. Link is in the bio. It has an ebook, paper book, and a signed paperback copy. You feel me? All right, so in a minute, I'm going to post a flyer. I got to go to Publix and get this cheese and finish cooking for my son because he is downstairs mad as hell because he's been waiting for some damn food. And I've been trying, but I've been occupied. Deuces.